Okay, everybody. So I'm just gonna be working on the EZ30R tonight. Just pulling off the timing cover, timing components, and probably the rocker cover. Won't get down to pulling the head off tonight, most likely, but I might. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully that'll give you some clarity. And luckily it's like, I don't know, 60 degrees outside, so it's only bearable. I actually don't think I want to wear those gloves. But I feel weird. My arms are naked. Now I gotta see if I can figure out the chat. There we go. Cool. I don't actually like where the camera's at. You guys can't see jack, so let me move some stuff around in the garage. What if we do that? I like that. No, I just need something to stick underneath here. Yeah. Like that. Mostly. Yeah, that's too bright. No. There we go. there's about 40 of these just on the front plate, and then there's like another 40 on the rear plate. And the dumb part is that since I'm doing it in the engine bay, I can't really get an impact down on them. I can do like these top ones and the middle ones with my impact, but the ones on the bottom, this lower support brace gets in the way. And I'm not a huge fan of pneumatic tools, like air tools, mostly just because of the noise. And when I'm doing my videos, the noise doesn't really, I mean, it's not conducive to making videos using pneumatic tools. At least right now, while I still have just a tiny compressor that's running all the time. I have thought about picking up an electric ratchet though, like a battery powered ratchet that would be small enough to actually fit in on these. And with the number of times I've done this exact same thing to this exact same engine, I feel like an electric ratchet would really help out. It'd really speed things up. Okay. I got about half of them out. Sweet, that's all of them. But there's a little ground strap on this side. There you go. Okay. Making sure I got everything. Cool. Now, there it is. Grab my fat screwdriver. There we go. Now it's starting to come loose. Kind of. I'm pretty sure I had a much larger screwdriver last time I did this. There we go. So I'm going to be dripping oil. I have a pan underneath there that's filled with water, like coolant. Maybe I'll just stick a box underneath it. Yeah, we'll put a box. It's not big enough. Do a couple of boxes. And newspaper. I'm pretty sure the place that I was prying last time I did this was here underneath the power steering pump, but I can't get to it now because I didn't take the power steering pump off. And I'd rather not take the power steering pump off, but I don't know. Let's keep seeing what I can do. Ouch, my fingers. Here we go. Okay. I'm back into very familiar territory because I've had I've had this off for the last couple weeks. On and off for the last couple weeks. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put it in top dead center. just so I'm set for keeping going with everything. But to do that, I need to pull the screwdriver out from in here, stopping the engine from turning. Okay. Actually, nah, that's all right. Okay. That's not top dead center. That's top dead center. Yeah. I have my arrow on the crank sprocket facing up. Both of the words on the cam sprockets are facing up. And both keyways on the exhaust sprockets are facing up. However, this one looks like it might be like 1 degree off. So maybe I got it off by 1 tooth the last time I was doing it. Maybe that's why those were the intake cam advanced performance. Those P0028 and 26 codes. I'm wondering and hoping that those were because the timing was off. I don't know if the ECU and the variable valve or the variable timing can adjust for that, because it was running just fine. But I guess it doesn't really matter because I have to take the timing off anyway. So yeah. So now these go back in. Okay. Yeah. That's gonna need a breaker bar. Shoot. Dang it. So I always break the cam sprockets loose before I take the timing belt off, the timing chains off, and that way there's tension on them and they can't move. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the timing chains back on really quick. Let's see how far I actually need to put them on. Yeah. Yeah, I just got in like zombie mode, just taking stuff apart, but and not thinking ahead mostly, but no worries. Let's try that. Before I put the whole thing back together, let's see if I can just put on a partial bit of chain and get them off. Yep. Oops. Oh, let's try that. Nothing. Oops. Oh, that's why. Let's try that. That should have enough slack out of it. Maybe not. There we go. Let's throw this side on really quick and see what we can have happen. Let's try that. That should do it. I hope. And where'd I put my breaker bar? Oh, it's still on there. Jeez Louise. Oh, how did that get to be on there so tight? Mostly I just have a really crappy angle. There's my mini breaker bar. Jeez. Oh. Oh. Jeez Louise. I might have to put that one on for real. Maybe. Let me think. cow. Hooray! Water pump. Okay. So there's all the timing components off. Now I need to take off the oil pump and then all the 40 bolts on the rear cover, and then I'll be able to pop the rear cover off. And that's probably where I'll call it for the night. It's almost 10 o'clock here Central Time. Yeah, I'll pull off the oil pump. One thing I don't like about this part is it's just so oily. and it just makes everything slippery, and I have to clean off my tools. But I mean, there are worse things. You know what? Yeah, might as well. It'll make it easier. I was gonna say, I don't have to actually take off the oil pump all the way. I just have to take out the oil pump studs. There's a few of the bolts that go all the way through to the block. Those ones need to come off. But the other small ones that just keep it onto the rear plate, I could probably leave those on. But they're already off, so. And there's a bunch more oil. Okay. There's that. Now I'm just going to take off these rear cover bolts and take off the rear cover, and I'm going to call it a night. It's 10:02 my time. See if I can get this done by 10:15. Or at least get the bolts out by 10:15, and then another 5 minutes to pry it apart. Another 5 minutes to slightly clear up my workspace and just make sure I know where all of my tools are for tomorrow. Yeah. Oops. Holy crap. You hear that thunder? It set car alarms off outside. That's crazy. Come on. Oh. Same. Oh, that was quick. Okay. Now there's .6mm hexes. That sounds like hail. There's the rain. And just go back through and check every single one of the bolt holes and make sure I really did get all of them. Before I start trying to pry, because it's aluminum and you don't want to break it in half. That would be a major catastrophe at this point. Okay. Rear timing cover's coming off. And I'm done for the night. What are we at? 10:14. Yeah. Thanks, Ben. This is a whole lot easier to pry off when you have the air conditioning pump, the power steering pump, I guess this is the compressor, and the alternator off, because then you can get down in here and pry. I'm just nervous about prying too hard on things, because Like that's the last thing I want is to have issues with my covers and have to go buy new covers. Come on off. Am I missing one? Let's try prying from below, huh? It feels like there's still a bolt in it somewhere. But I know there can't be because there isn't one there. I don't want to pry too hard and bust it. Let's see if I can get over here anywhere. Whew. Oh. Nothing broke. Okay. I feel like I'm missing something, but I know I'm not. All the bolts are out. Why is this being such a big butt? Anybody have any tips? Yeah, that's... I feel like it's the seal around the oil pump that's not breaking free, which is good because that's where I had issues leaking last time I had it apart. I'm just wanting it to come apart now. God. Hey. Yeah. What? You watching me? No. No, they're all off. Just usually I can get, with the alternator off, I can get in right here and pry. And since I didn't take the alternator off, that's not an option. And that's like the major pry point. And then right here, right behind the tensioner, that is the other place that I used to break free. No, I just got a big sledge. Yeah. The top is, the bottom isn't. I think up here along this upper oil passage still is still holding on up here. Possibly. Might be able to go right there off the oil cooler. I'm going to put you on speaker. No. Let's see. What if you... Oops. There we go. So I pried up underneath here, up underneath the water pump. There we go. Yeah, and that's why I bought a new water pump gasket. Okay. Whew. Cool, man. I'll keep watching. Sweet. Oh. Well, it's not 10:30 yet. Here, I'm gonna let you go, Nate. So it's not quite 10:30. So I might. I'm just now seeing some of the comments. Oh, thanks for the suggestion, Ben. Yeah, just that water pump. I think so. The issue I was having is because I had taken the water pump on and off so many times, I was worried about it actually sealing and creating a good surface. And so I put a little tiny bit of RTV around the water pump gasket. And the service manual doesn't call for that. And so there's just extra tension, and friction and all that on the water pump, where usually there isn't anything on the water pump. And so it's easy to pry it from the top. But since I'd RTV'd the water pump, I had to get up underneath the water pump and pry it out, which isn't that big of a deal because on the rear cover, the area where the water pump sits, right here, that's about the thickest spot on the rear cover. And so prying back on this chunky stuff was not really scary. The rest of it's pretty scary because it flexes, but it doesn't, I don't know, it seems too close to breaking. Oh. Oh Yeah. Shoot. Now my radiator tipped over and it's leaking all over the garage. But whatever. What time is it? 10:26. I'm gonna go ahead and pull off the rocker cover. And then tomorrow I'll be ready to pull out the cams and then pull out the cams and pull off the head. So here, I'll tip this up while I take this one off. So yeah, that'll be good. Things are moving along nicely. And I feel like, I mean, as much as this sucks to do, it kind of works out that I'm doing it right now because I'm really still familiar with everything. I don't even know if I'm really going to need this factory service manual to put it back together. We'll see, but at this point I don't feel like I'll need it. Now my hands and everything's all oily. So I'm gonna ditch these gloves. And just go with the hands to get all of these rocker cover bolts off. And I think, is there, I don't know, I'm seeing a chat window on here. I don't know if there really is or not on your guys' end, but there is on this end. Something interesting while I'm doing this that I noticed today. Oh. So last week, so here at my in-laws' house, they have an old like '03 Suburban, and it's fun to drive. I think it has an LS3 in it. Maybe it's an LS2. I don't know. Anyway, the truck version of the LS1, and so it's got tons of power, especially for being so huge. But the issue that I've always had with American cars is that they don't stop. And maybe part of that is just because they're so much bigger than a Subaru or even a Volkswagen or anything. But the brakes in that were going out. The last couple times I've driven it, when you're slowing down and like when you take your foot off the brake at like a stoplight to kind of idle forward, it was real grindy and real nasty sounding anyway. And so my father-in-law, well, I pointed it out and he drove it, and anyway, he took off the front wheels one day and the outsides of the rotors looked fine. I actually have them sitting there on the ground. Anyway, the outsides looked fine. And then I said, okay, well, maybe it's the rear brakes. And so I looked at the rears, and the rears were slightly pitted. I mean, they had, I don't know what you call it, not pitted, but they had grooves in them. So I said, okay, well, the front pads are getting lowish, and the rear is needing new rotors. So let's just do full brakes on the Suburban. I mean, it's going to be like $200 in parts, and I'm going to do the labor. So it's free instead of like $1,000 to have a shop do it. Well, $200 instead of $1,000. Anyway, I did the brakes. I went and I broke them in. And so anyway, the Suburban's really fun to drive because it's a really big car, but it's big in rear-wheel drive if you keep it in two-wheel drive. Anyway, but it doesn't stop. And now, with new brakes, new ceramic pads all the way around, and new rotors that are properly broken in, it actually stops, and it has like good pedal feel. I know, I was just amazed with, I drove it today because I had to go get that leak down tester. And it's the first like American car that I've driven that has real pedal feel. Instead of just kind of being a brick that you're pushing against, and then the amount that you push doesn't really have any effect on how fast you slow down. So I don't know, that was cool. Okay, where are we at? Light. I need my step stool. Mostly though, it was cool because so my in-laws know I work on cars, and they know that that I have a channel and everything. But I've always been in Utah doing it. And I mean, very kind of hoity-toity, middle-aged people that live in the suburbs of Minnesota. My drift car isn't much to talk about. And even, I mean, they didn't think much of the cars that I bought for their daughter to drive until this one. And I bought this one, and they were very impressed with how cheap I got it and how nice the interior was and how normal it looked. And then I do the head gaskets on it, and it leaks oil. And so I pull it apart again, and it's still leaking something. Turns out it's power steering fluid. And then I start to pull that apart and realize, oh, the head gaskets didn't get fixed right. But basically, to spend all this time putting in new head gaskets and then having it leak oil is just like slightly unprofessional. But just to say, like, yeah, like I really like cars, and I work on cars, and I buy cheap cars, and I fix cars, and then to like have a prime example of that and have it not really work out that well. Like, yeah, I did the head gaskets, but it leaks oil all over your driveway, sorry. It was just cool to do a brake job and to diagnose it correctly and to put in a new CV axle. Anyway, to do all this stuff on their car that they've owned forever and have it work perfectly afterwards, just to give myself some extra cred that, yeah, I do actually know what I'm doing. And I do it right sometimes. This one is not one of those times, apparently. Ugh. I also, for some reason I always forget, I have to take off the exhaust manifold. At least drop the one side. No, I'll have to drop both sides to be able to get it down far enough. That's a bummer. Ow. Okay, there's 2 more. Now there's just the last one. The one that's like up underneath, just right on the subframe. And luckily, this is the side. On the EZ30, the 2 head gaskets are different. It's not like a EJ where you can just, they're kind of interchangeable. So there's a right and a left head gasket. And unfortunately, this is the right side, and it is more expensive than the left side head gasket. But the right side has more space. Just with all the brake booster and everything, and the wiring harness over there, this side has more space. So even though the part is mildly more expensive, it's easier to do. Even though it's not easy to do. That side, getting this bolt is a major pain. I had to lay on my back and have one arm underneath the subframe and then the other one like up over the top of the control arm and getting on it from the back side of the subframe. So basically hugging the subframe and then doing a 2-finger jig jag to wait. Okay, this one's coming out. This is going to be just in time because it looks like my battery on my computer is getting ready to kaput. And I'm getting pretty tired. It's 10:40 my time. And these last few threads are a butt because it like starts to get wobbly and it's like, I know it's close, but it's not coming off yet. And then my stool is sliding. There we go. Got it. I think the problem. More drippy oil. Oh, there's just a harness attachment that I need to pull off. Whoops. Okay. Did I miss one? Ah, there's one more. What's going on with it? Yes, I know my battery is low. Oh. Okay. Oh. There we go. Something else that was kind of cool today. I met a guy who has a, I think they call it a GTAW, something like that. I don't know. I don't know the specific, but it's a MIG welder with an aluminum wire feed spool to be able to aluminum weld, but just with a MIG. So, and he has a whole shop that he said I could use. So that's exciting. So I might get started on the supercharged H6 a bit sooner than I figured initially. Another cool thing is, oh, I forget his handle, Brain something. Anyway, I've been helping this dude out with the wiring on his EZ30D 03 Impreza swap. So he threw a rod in his 2.5 and is putting in an EZ30D into his, I think it's an 03 bug-eye wagon. I don't know if it's a wagon actually. Anyway, and because I'm helping him out, he's gonna send me an M62 supercharger. So that should be here on Wednesday, which will be pretty sweet. So all the notes that I've taken over the last few months on a EZ30 swap really paid off to just kind of share with somebody else, and real grateful to him. I've been wanting to get a M62 for a while, but they're just more expensive than I want to pay. I'm still planning on doing something with that M90 because it is a bigger supercharger, but the M62 might be able to get packaged a little more easily because it's way shorter. But anyway, that's where I'm stopping for the night. Cams are exposed. I'll need to drop the exhaust tomorrow and pull the cams. and pull the head. The intake manifold is just sitting up there. So yeah, that's up. That's up. That's it for tonight. Obviously, I'm getting tired. I'm getting a little too tired to keep going just because I don't want to mess anything up. But this was a great way to spend the last couple hours of the day, just kind of relaxing, pulling an engine apart. So I did get some parts in the mail today. I got a 10-ounce tube of the quick dry ultra gray. So it dries in like 10 minutes instead of like 24 hours. So that'll make things be a lot faster when I get them together. I got, I forget what they're called. Anyway, somebody suggested one of those like fiber roto spool. Anyway, to get the old RTV off, you stick it on a die grinder or a drill and it just buzzes off. And it's just like plastic fiber. Anyway, I got one of those. I got some brass brushes that I'm going to use with WD-40 and see if that works as well. And I got my giraffe cam, so I got a little endoscope that I can go ahead and take a look at the intake manifold with. There's that. That's as big as the camera is. You can barely see it. But it works pretty well. I just plug it into my computer and I can just record off the computer. So that's cool. Anyway, got some good parts in today and I ordered new head bolts and this, just the head gasket, not a kit or anything. And they should be here hopefully on Friday. That'll give me plenty of time to figure out what I'm going to do with this head. If I'm going to try and resurface it myself, which I probably will. If that's really the issue, if it has something cracked in it, I'll go from there. But yeah, if I do need to take this to a machine shop, I'll have time. And there's no real rush to get this out of the garage. The real goal, it's not, the other car runs and drives perfectly. It's nice and powerful and all that. And we want this car to be the same. And so taking time to make sure this is done right is more important than getting it back together and getting it on the road like I was doing the last time. And I feel like I always tell myself at the end of a job like this that don't hurry, don't rush it, otherwise you mess up. And that's like what I learn at the end of every time I do something like this. And then the next time I go to do something like this, same thing happens. So hopefully this one, since it's such a big hopefully this will teach me. Anyway, I'm going to call it there for the night. Tomorrow, there's a new episode of putting this back together. If you've been watching what's on the channel lately, I put it together and then took it apart because it was leaking oil. And then I put it back together and it was still leaking oil. So I took it apart. And this is the episode. Oh, and then I found out that the oil pump was stripped out. And so I put in helicoils. That was the episode that went live on Saturday, like 2 days ago. And so tomorrow's episode is me getting it back together with a bit of a surprise and editing together tomorrow's episode. Just I was rolling around laughing. My wife was asking me what I was doing. So it's an enjoyable episode for me to watch. So I hope it's enjoyable for you guys. So stay tuned for that. Be looking for it. It comes out at 5 o'clock Central Time tomorrow evening. So yeah, if it looks like there's 11 of you guys, 12 of you guys watching, thanks for watching. Have a good night. And if you're around tomorrow, just keep your eyes out because I might do another live stream like this where I just go ahead and turn it on and keep working. So yeah, have a good night and we'll see you guys later. I need to figure out something to say at the end of my episodes, like keep it dirt cheap. That sounds stupid though, so we'll see ya.